I do think most people, like, you kind of can do whatever you want to do, because I've never said I want to accomplish this and not been able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the thing that probably is, it's more the opposite, where, because if you hyperfixate on something and you're talented, I think that you can probably pull it off.
Yeah.
But I think that where the like negative side of that is, I've been like hyperfixated and I'm like, this is happening. And then because the world changes so much, sometimes you're stuck on what you're going to do when the world's changing.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Robert Patton Global Podcast. Today, we're going to be interviewing comedian, entrepreneur, sketch writer, Ryan Long. He's blowing up on YouTube, and we're very lucky to have him here today. We're at Skankfest in the Skankfest studios from Gas Digital Network. Very excited for this show. He's running a little bit late, but once he gets here, we're going to get it started. Thank you for joining. Let's start the show. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Robert Patton Global Podcast. We're here today with, he's a comedian, sketch writer, entrepreneur, right? Ryan Long.
Thank you, everybody. Happy to be here. I was thinking about today that, like, there is building a company from scratch is probably one of the hardest things to do.
It takes a long time. It's not, it's like a decade. We're like an overnight success, but it took a decade to get here.
Were you guys, how long was it till SHEATH was profitable?
I would say,
I know that gets a little murky.
I had the idea in 2008, and then by 2015, I was paying myself like $1,000 a month.
Yeah, because I guess it depends. You're like, whenever you're building something, it's kind of like, are you profitable? It's like, well, that depends. Like, yeah, I can be potentially, but if I keep expanding, I'm not, right?
Luckily, well, we had done a Kickstarter, and then that was in 2013, so 5 years after the idea, and since then we've doubled in annual revenue every year.
That's great.
But what about you? Like, did you know what you wanted to be when you were young or whatever?
Well, I was when I was growing up, I thought that I was going to be in like a band.
Okay.
So I was in like this pretty popular band when I was a kid. Like when I was like 18, we were like on MTV. And
nice.
So I was kind of doing that for a living, like when I got out of college. But I was also making like videos and DVDs. I used to do all these like wild like tour DVDs and documentaries, and I was doing like a cable access show. So to me, like, it was almost like I knew in my mind, like I was like maybe like too cocky as a kid, because like being like 12, I was like, what are you gonna do? It's like, well, I'll be like a famous band like that. But I always kind of like, even in the band, was always like gravitating towards making like funny stuff.
Okay.
So
were you the lead singer? Would you play
I was like drummer, singer in the band, and then as we got more popular, we just got like another drummer, and I just sang.
That kind of helps with getting over stage fright.
Yeah.
I did like a few sets of stand-up comedy back in 2012, and because just watching Rogan and getting, I've been doing podcasts since 2012 on and off, so I've been doing it for a while. But we got you got that Rogan influence. What influenced you? In a
lot of ways, what you said, like, I think people think that like music helps with stand-up comedy, and it like in some ways does, but in some ways it's like, because all of your like instincts. A lot of commotion over there.
Hey,
a lot of your instincts from music, and that's not even just like the actual stage stuff, but also your instincts like in the industry are like the opposite of what you'd want in comedy. Like being like a young like musician on the scene that's like overly cocky and all that stuff almost like is good.
Yeah.
Being like a 17-year-old rapper that's like, yeah, I'm not good, fuck you, I'm the best. Like, you know what I mean? But if you're like a comedian with that attitude, that's like the worst. So I think that also my like persona that like suits me, you have to be like pretty good for. So it sort of took me a long time on comedy to like sort of shake some of my band like habits that I had from music, and then get good enough to now sort of get them back again.
Were you transitioning? Like, were you still like doing shows with music?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But at that point, I had a TV show.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like like I had the band and I had this like TV show and I had like that. So because of all that stuff, it was like not that crazy for me to be doing stand up. You know what I mean? It wasn't like out of nowhere. It was kind of natural.
You had to break up the band though.
No, to be honest, like with music, like in a lot of culture, that's why the stand up, the biggest stand ups in the world, a lot of times are like 50, you know what I mean? But in music, it's kind of a young man's game, right? Like you're part of like a wave, and unless you're, Foo Fighters where you just become like a radio band, there's a moment, right? Like every band, for the most part, we kind of had like a moment, and we were part of this scene, and it was very popular. And then, the thing kind of is getting smaller, and we're getting older, and it's kind of over.
So it was like a natural transition. You were probably making money doing the...
I would say if you think of bands, like 90% of them, yeah, we could still tour. Like even now, we could probably still go play a lot of places and draw, but like it's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I kind of have a good sense. I think even in culture, period, like I have a pretty good sense of like when things are, when the stock's dropping. You know what I mean? So even though I might not like make the move always like immediately, but like in my mind, you could tell like this is kind of over. Now I'm way more like honed in on that. But at the time, I think my like instincts already knew that, but I wasn't like so honed in on my like how I interface with the world because it's the first time I've done anything.
It's kind of, well, not kind of like, but I wanted to be in the NBA. And
Sure.
there was just a time where I was like, okay, this isn't happening. So, but I guess I always wanted to be like some sort of businessman. I remember I was in, you like dress up for career day when you're in 5th grade, and I put on a business suit and a tie, and I was like, I wanted to be the president of a company. And so do you believe in any kind of like manifestation, the law of attraction, or you just
Well,
go?
I think that I do feel like, at least with myself, that everything I like wanted to do, like I do think most people, like, you kind of can do whatever you want to do, because I've never said I want to accomplish this and not been able to do it. So for me, the thing that probably is, it's more the opposite, where, because if you hyperfixate on something and you're talented, I think that you can probably pull it off. But I think that where the like negative side of that is, I've been like hyperfixated and I'm like, this is happening. And then because the world changes so much, sometimes you're stuck on what you're going to do when the world's changing.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I really, really wanted to make like television shows. Like I wanted to have my like crazy wild, like do TV show.
Okay.
But I was, so by the time that I was like in a position to sort of make that happen, television was like kind of not relevant.
Yeah.
I was in Canada. So I think that now I'm way more like flexible in my goals, and I try to be sort of almost like energy oriented. Like, kind of, what your life, you want it to look like, what kind of your general days and what you want, that you like impact that you want to have to feel like, but to not be so married to like what the physical manifestation of those things are.
Yeah.
Because it changes so much.
Yeah.
You know how many companies have to pivot? If you were like,
Pivoting.
I wanted to make this thing and I was going to do it, and you're like, well, like the sentiment's right, but what if, I think it's better to be like, I want to make a thing in this space, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. So now I'm a little more flexible on that front. And I had to like force myself almost to fall in love with being like an entrepreneur a little bit, because that's not really something I don't naturally have that, and I don't know exactly why, but I had to, be even just like building a company and how to like interface with employees and managing a team. It's not like something that I naturally get like excited about.
You're an entertainer.
Yeah, I think that's
more your like
naturally get excited. I've always been excited about like funny things, like something that's like on the pulse of kind of culture. I've always got excited about people that is a little disruptive. So that part of the entrepreneurialness I like, but the part where you're kind of like growing a team. You know what it is? It's like the initial building and idea stuff, but it sort of takes a different thing to like manage things and tinker. And as far as like that part, I had to sort of force myself to start to like that, to do it good. Do you know what I mean? Or do you like that part?
I like you were saying, you kind of just got to go with the flow when it comes to what is, well, I don't know. I had the idea for Sheath, and when I like made it, I felt like I knew it was going to be successful because I really liked it. Like if something's funny, then other people are going to think it's funny. And when you started off as like a sketch writer, I mean, musician, sketch writer, right?
Not sketches. I was doing like wild, like getting kicked out of malls stuff. You know what I mean?
Like jackassy type shit.
Yeah, a little like.
I know I've never seen any.
Yeah, maybe
Canadian.
a little more along the line like Tom Green, but yeah, like
Tom Green.
Yeah, I was doing like we were doing like wild band guy DVD stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some sketches, but like fake, not like scripted sketches.
Not scripted.
Yeah, we were doing wild like lifestyle content kind of thing.
They were following you with a camera, and you were just acting out. And
I was bringing camera. I was just like obsessed with making videos, like from a young age. So I used to make all our music videos. I used to make like, and then I had like a company that did like a million other people's music videos. So I probably made like hundreds of music videos. And then I was doing, I would do these DVDs, and then I had the cable access show.
Yeah. And
with the cable access show, there was like four of us, and there would be kind of a. I don't know. Yeah, sketches wouldn't be the right word. We had like a lot of comedy songs.
But now you do sketches on YouTube.
Now I do sketches.
So I didn't know.
After that, then I did this show that was kind of like the Ali G show in Canada, for the lack of a better comparison or whatever.
Yeah.
But every
familiar.
episode, it was like I had to, like it was a fake reality show. Was the like premise, but it was all messing with real people. And then after that, I was doing these sketches for this website called The Hard Times. Because I kind of was in the band and I was doing this music band content. I met the dude from the Hard Times, and then we did all these sketches that went super viral. So it's like a punk music satire site. Okay. So we did like kind of the stuff I'm doing now, but we did like a bass player support group, and I did like Sound Man, the art of grumpy, like how all the sound guys are. I was doing these kind of like sketches about like little how concert promoters scam you, like all these little kind of like band
behind the scenes.
I was doing sketches about all this little like funny like band stuff, you know what I mean? And then a cheating drummer, like when you find out your drummer's been cheating on you with another bit, like all that kind of shit. But we were doing, they were pretty wild. And we were going like crazy viral with these sketches. And then because of that, I started doing a sketch comedy series at CBC in Canada. So I had this sketch comedy show called Trontopia that I was doing kind of that about Toronto-oriented stuff. A lot of action in this room, huh?
Fucking hell. We're good, though. It's not throwing me off at all that people keep walking in. It does throw you off
a little, yeah.
Yeah, just a hair.
Yeah. So I was doing these sketch comedy about Toronto stuff called Trontopia, and I had like, that was all going viral. So I was just like, I really like honed in on how to like find a cultural thing that I thought was funny that no one said before, and
you're really good at that.
Make it funny. So I kept doing all these sketches and I go viral. We were doing a chef image intervention, like these ones where I had these 7 big fat like chefs who were all tattoos, and the one guy in the chef won't get like neck tattoos, so they have to have like an intervention about his image, kind of stuff like that, and then. Some Toronto stuff, like in Toronto, there's this thing. All the bartenders think they're celebrities, sort of, and so I did
like
this
cocktail, like Tom Cruise.
It's honestly a Toronto thing that kind of doesn't exist. It's like honestly, it's more like guys that look like me, but like they're kind of have Instagram profiles and stuff, but they're bartenders, So we used to be like, "Yo, come by, I'm pouring from 10 to 2 tonight."
Oh my god!
So I was like saying all this stuff about that. So we did I did this kind of series about this like celebrity bartender. He's like. He's always telling people where he's pouring, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll be pouring at the nightclub.
Yeah, like he's DJing, right? So I was doing stuff like that, and then that was a CBC show, and then I did a few other CBC shows, and then I moved to America, and then started my own YouTube channel doing that same thing about like current culture stuff.
And would you want your own show, or would you want to be on like SNL?
No, that's like to me a perfect example of like. I don't know. To be honest, I bet you the best thing to be doing in 5 years doesn't exist yet.
Okay.
Like that's why I'm very trying to be like tapped into Web3, tapped into like
Web3.
Just like
the next generation.
Yeah, just like what the next thing does look like. I try. So, obviously, podcasting is somewhat of like a mature entertainment form to some degree. Like, it's not quite, but like once you see people starting to get, make real money, like. Once big companies start cutting those big crazy checks, like that's a sign of industries of mature industry.
It is weird that like for podcasts like Coke and McDonald's, I don't know, maybe they are on some of the major podcasts like that, like there's the Office ladies. I don't know if you've heard of them, but like the ladies that were on the show The Office, they have their own podcast. And they
Yeah,
go
I know the
over-
Office podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Always Sunny, guys.
Always Sunny. Yeah,
It's a mature industry. I mean, a lot of
Wow.
people made a lot of money, and they decided that
they
let's
want
do
to
the
get
same.
in on that too.
No, I mean, I think that like even our relationship that me and you have like is a little bit like indicative, I think, of like what the world looks like in 10 years. Like
Yeah.
the world's going to be to some degree like made up of entrepreneurs and people with audiences that can sell products.
That's what we're trying to do. Is just
But I think
move-
that's kind of
and like
what it
smaller
goes to,
little
right?
niche relationships where we work together and build a brand, and then other like influencers build other brands. Or I know we have like this whole community, like the kind of like the Skankfest community, where it's like-minded individuals.
Sure.
We're all into the same kind of thing, and that's why we sponsor you and Louis J
Yeah.
and the whole like.
Do you ever see? I think that even like I think that that's like really smart that you did that, because it's like the way to do it. Even like comedy, you'll see people that kind of have way bigger audiences, but you're like, who? Like no one know. Like they're not like culturally relevant.
Joe Coy.
You know what I mean?
I don't know who Joe Coy. He's probably funny. I don't know.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
on
sure,
Netflix.
yeah. But I mean, he's bigger than what I'm saying. I say like maybe if someone's a 7 popularity and someone's like a 8 popular, I'm comparing like a little closer. But like there is being like put it this way, there's people that have like way bigger audiences, but they draw less on the road because they're not like the guy in this one little space.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I think that right now I have a lot of people that I'm like, on my shows, they're like, yo, you're my favorite comic. You know
Well,
what I mean?
yeah.
As opposed to, oh, we'll see that guy. Like, there's a lot of people that, people go to their shows and they're like, oh, we'll go to that guy's shows. But like, no one here, you're their favorite comedian. So I think that like being able to really tap in on you kind of like create a space and own it, like, that's why I'm kind of making the comparison.
Right.
It's like you almost create like a little space in comedy where like I think what I'm doing is like with the street interview sketch, the little thing I'm
Yeah.
doing, like I kind of created my own little thing that I go, I'm the best in the world at this. You're like, well, yeah, because you're the only one who does it because you created it. So it's kind of that, right?
Yeah, and you do podcasts, you do your sketch show, like
Basically, I'm running a little media company, I guess.
yeah.
right? That's what
But
I'm doing.
then, when did you start like doing comedy? Was it after?
13 years ago.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were doing that the whole time then.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's. Whenever I talk about it, it feels like it's like a whole long story. But it's like the thing about to remember is like, when you're famous in a band, you're 18. Like, you know what I mean? The whole I was like washed up by the time I was like 24. Like, you know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah. No.
So it's just kind of that game is a very young game, right? So it's like, yeah, I had a whole like career, and then when I started the TV shows at 24 to like 27. That was like the era where I was doing those like half-hour programs.
And you were doing comedy then?
That's when I started comedy. Kind of around
Okay.
the same time, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because I just know like you were killing it on stage the other day, and I feel like you really like come into your like own. Like
I think that happened probably like 5 years ago.
okay, well,
Yeah.
I was yeah.
Well, I wasn't in America.
already.
No, I wasn't. Right.
Okay.
That's why I think that like, that's why I think New York was cool. Like, if you were in Toronto, we had our little club, and I was there every single night for
Okay.
7-8 years. And then by that point, like I was getting really good, and we had this little pocket of people in Toronto. Like, you know how all cultural movements happen in a little pocket. Like I was developing this little style of comedy, doing three shows a night, like fucking 7 nights a week, the same people. And there's this one little club, and in Canada right now, there's about 4 people from Toronto that are all really popular right now. Every single one was one of 10 people from this one little club.
That's weird how that happens.
Isn't that crazy? And there's people on TV. There's people at the bigger club, which we all quit, and all those guys are struggling to make a living. The 4 or 5 people that are selling out shows like in America, every single one was one of like 10 people at this tiny little club that we did 3 shows a week. So it's very cool.
That you started with like
I didn't start comedy with them. This club opened when
Okay.
I'd been doing comedy for 6 years, but it was like the fucking spot. Like I knew. So at the time when I was like in bands and stuff, there was parts of my life where I kind of look back after and I go, that was like a really cool moment at the time, but I didn't know. Do you know what I mean? This I like knew, like, because I was like been doing this long enough. I knew when I was in Toronto, I was like, yo, we're all
This
getting
is
like
special.
really
This is-
fucking good at comedy. Yeah, and people were coming like that are into comedy and be like, yo, what the fuck is like, you know, just like that someone might see like a Skankfest lineup with like REJ, like whatever, right? Like you might see that, but it was like happening, and it was like that in this little tiny place in Toronto, and everyone's like, yo, what fuck? Comedy fans are like, who is this? Who are these guys? What is this place?
Yeah.
And then I developed like a very specific style that was like, you know, my own, but a mix of all my friends' thing, and just the way we kind of talk and our little idiosyncrasies, the way that like, you know, all the Philly guys kind of have their like little thing that they invented.
Boston
like,
guys.
yeah,
and-
but we had our little thing that me and and then I came to New York, and I felt like everyone was very like, yo, who is this guy? Like, like, because I do comedy different than other people a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's crossover in this and that, but it's this kind of little thing you invented, and then you were killing every night. So I felt like when I moved to New York, it was kind of like I didn't feel that to me was like easy. Like I was like, yeah, I'll move to New York, like get past at all the clubs, like do what I'm doing here again. Like I'd already done it. I already knew how to like build a social media platform and go viral. I knew how to go murder at a club with my eyes closed. You know what I mean?
Wow,
Like,
because you've been doing it since you
yeah. So I felt like no,
pressure.
yep, no pressure, but also I didn't feel any like doubt that it would happen.
That's how it was
I was
with
very
Sheath.
confident. Yeah.
I remember what like somebody asked me, "Do you really think this is going to be successful?" And this was like 2009. And maybe I guess that's about when you started comedy, but there was no doubt. I mean, it was like I had 100% confidence.
Had you had other ideas before that like?
Yes, I did. I was keys.
So that's why you kind of knew like what works or what like you know what it feels like when it's like cooking.
Well, it was interesting because I had this idea for like keys that were supposed to be like a jewelry, because I was like looking at my keys and they're so bland and you carry them everywhere and we're always trying to show off shit. And I was like, what if we had like these fancy keys? And now, you know, you might see a football team on them or on a key, which is kind of representative of what you're into. Mine were going to be more like
You know what
jewelry.
the problem is that? Oh yeah, they'd have to be pretty expensive, right?
Yeah, and I was 20.
How much would they? How much would like a key be?
It could have been a couple $100, but it
Yeah.
would have been a really cool key, and maybe people would steal your keys, I guess. But the problem I ran into, I really wanted them to be like these
It's hard to not
stamped.
big return purchases.
That there's a lot of issues with the idea, but I never was able to get it made. You know, and
You
like
actually just weren't able to figure it out.
yeah, because I was trying to make it so complicated. I wanted it to be like, you know how a quarter has the stamp of the president or whatever on it. I wanted them to have like the stamp of maybe like Mickey Mouse or some
Sure.
kind of figure. And
kind of cool idea, yeah.
yeah, it was like right at the
You
beginning.
knew you wanted to build a business.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah.
But well, what I learned, because I ended up giving up on it, you know, because it was too hard. I couldn't figure it out, and I quit. And then about 6 years later, I was about to go on my second deployment, which is when I came up with Sheath. But I walked into Home Depot, and they had like this little key thing and a kiosk, and there was all these keys with all these designs on them, and I felt like I got kicked in the stomach. I was
Yeah.
like, that was fucking my idea.
Sure.
And that's when that's where I learned kind of like never quit. Because
Yeah, and
once you
also
quit, it's over.
don't be married to the idea. I feel like to me that feels like I'm sure you probably don't feel like that less now, but whenever I see someone like even with like I don't know what would be like a movie idea or something, someone be like, I had that idea. You're like, yo, ideas are fucking a dime a dozen. Like it's like, can you fucking like run and execute like a movie production? That's what we're doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, of course you want to have a good idea, but it's like that's why with stand up, it's like. Yes, like there's like your topic or whatever, but really it's like your 14 years of like how do you stand and how do you speak, and you're like your hypnosis techniques on the audience, and you're like, you know, your perspective that's even said without your words. Like, so there's so much more than just like if you're like ever fixated on like one thing, you don't really know how to like do this. You know what I mean?
What is a hypnosis technique you use or something like just eye contact?
I actually don't like. So I don't like study hypnosis.
No, I know.
But I more mean like
But what
shit
you
you do
do.
like naturally, because well, a lot of it is like second nature. But I mean, an example would be like, I mean, I think rhythmically even like you know what rhythm
timing.
you know what rhythm to like speak and pause at in order to like trick them. Like you know how if you want them to like internalize this and sit in it, like what's the maximum amount, like down to the millisecond, but it's just like in your clock now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of how to, like when you have the body's rhythm. I mean, one thing I always say is like being able to like talk to different people at the audience the same. Like, you know, I mean, if you're talking to a girl, right? Like I do a lot of saying one thing, but my body is saying the other thing. Like, you know, like the joke would be like, you know, if someone says like my dad died and you're like, oh, it couldn't happen to a better person. But like you said, and it like takes them a second to realize that you actually said. I think I do a lot of like, you know what I mean? You're kind of like having people off balance, which allows you to, yeah, you're saying one thing and kind of your body language would be saying something else. But you're doing like a lot of these kind of things at the same time, which kind of leaves people off balance, and then you can play with that energy and stuff like that.
Right. It opens them up to then now they're open to your jokes or whatever.
Yeah, you kind of, and I also have one thing that I do a lot with the audience is I like, because audiences are, especially in like major cities, where it's like where I kind of developed, is they're like hip. So they're almost like too cool to get like
loosen up or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, first of all, like if and I'm probably guilty of this too. If I went on like a date to a comedy club, you wouldn't catch me being like, because I probably think I'm cool, you know? You know what I mean?
I roar and my wife is like, calm down.
Yeah. But like a lot of times I'll make an audience think something and then have them go like, oh, and then switch it to be like they were wrong, and I'll kind of like switch them 3 times, and then after you like trick them 3 times in a row, I feel like it just makes them like give up. Like they're like, it kind of makes the audience be like, you know what? Let's stop like trying to pretend we know where he's going.
We're going along for the ride.
Yeah, because it's like they were trying to like, they're like, oh, I know where this, and
I know where he's going with this.
Yeah, or they go, oh, whatever it is, they think they know, and then just like rapid fire trick them 4 times, and then force them to kind of just sit down and be like, all right, fine, we'll stop trying to know where you're going.
Yeah.
So I have like things like that I do.
You have like this New York. Do you feel like you're like adopting the New York energy, or do you always have it? You always have.
No, because I'm still like fully formed as a human.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't think that I've changed my comedy style in New York. No, I have a very, very like Toronto.
It's just high energy, and I don't know what New York energy is, but you're like, I live in the mountains, and you know it's all like we're super chill.
I'm very like joke oriented. So like underneath all my stuff, I'm very like punchline oriented, and I think that like is a New York thing. So I think that's one of the reasons why like I fit in.
Come
New
off
York.
That way maybe.
Well, I fit in New York because everyone's very like joke oriented.
Yeah.
LA a little less so. Whereas like because I do comedy a little like British, you know, also too. It's like there is, and you're like I always kind of say I'm kind of doing comedy a little like it's almost very conversational. I feel like my jokes have to be like extra huge because I'm kind of like half saying them.
Okay.
So I need to have like really good punchlines for me to be able to just kind of like.
I was watching you on the Part of the Problem, you know, with Dave Smith, and
yeah,
that was really fun. That's like probably one of my favorite podcasts. I get a lot of my politics and news from podcasts and comedians.
Dave's a smarty pants.
He's fucking on it, you know.
You know what? He's the best. He's the best at like. Whether you agree with them or don't agree with them, I think he might be one of the best in the world at like quickly dismantling someone else's point.
Yeah,
like I don't know if it's even debating or like just like anyone's like has a take and he's like, well, that doesn't make sense because like he's just like dismantles people's fucking viewpoints.
Do you guys hang out or you know like
he doesn't? Like, I mean, we've hung out like a bunch in comedy and stuff like that, and I've done his show.
Exactly. Who do you hang out with in New York?
But Dave's not like in the clubs like crazy right now.
Right.
But either am I right now.
Okay.
That's like one of the. That's why Skankfest and things like that is cool, because with comedy, there is this like. Once you kind of get popular and you have your business and you're touring, you're running your company, it's like. You don't see anyone anymore because you're not. It's hard to be in the club 7 nights a week. You just have to. You have to be able to do it a different way. So I do like 4 shows, like 2 nights in a row when I'm back. But it's like, I have to. It's almost like in a perfect world, I would like write every day, go do it every night. But it's like that's just like not an option. So it's like you just have to be like way more disciplined. Of like, okay, I'm writing for 3 hours today. It's like this is happening, and it's like
you do that. You'll sit down and write for 3 hours.
Oh,
how often?
All the time. Yeah.
Okay, and do you like? How do you?
But I would
like,
I would love to have like more half-ass ideas and take them to stage and figure it out. But it's like these days I really need to be like honest with myself. Of like, if I write tons of stuff, I need to be like, okay, that one has a like. Even though I think it's funny, that's a 4% chance of working.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't like bring 4% to the stage, then fuck around because I just don't have like the time in my system to be like operating like that.
Yeah.
Like I have to be like, yeah, more honest about like thinking I'm sitting closer to 50-50 before I bring things to the stage.
I have all these ideas,
Unfortunately,
and
that's just
I'll
what it
like
is.
text Robbie the Fire Bernstein. I have all these like comedic thoughts, but I'm not a comedian, you know, and I don't want to tweet them because sometimes they're a little bit too risky about
Yeah,
like
you're
maybe
running a business, like,
abortion
what's the
or
point? Yeah.
exactly. So I let you guys do that, and then I sponsor you, and I'll be like, wait, freedom of speech, let them, you know. And I don't know what they're gonna say. We just had this lady do a YouTube video about sitting between two oversized people on a plane and how they were like basically touching her without her consent because
Sydney Watson.
exactly yeah. And then we got these comments from or not emails from
That's going really viral right now.
yeah, the customers are. One of the customers was like, "I'm never gonna buy from you again. I can't believe you would support someone like this." And I'm like, "We don't."
What did you do? Because you just sponsor her.
Yeah, we sponsored that particular video. If you know, and someone saw it. I guess they were a customer, and now they're upset. And it's like, I don't watch their videos before.
Yeah, it's
they
not
put them
my
out.
business. Yeah.
Yeah, and we let people do what they do, and I'm all about this freedom shit. You know, that's what I love about Dave Smith and you guys and all the people we work with. It's because I hate the censorship, and I'm pro non-censorship. Like, let them do what they're gonna do. And I'm sorry if your feelings get hurt, but it's not intentional. We're trying to like.
Well, it doesn't work because like, you know, like again, my business model like isn't built on like I need, you know,
Everyone. What?
Yeah, like I know I don't need like a TV company to hire me. Like you know what I mean? It's like yeah, when you're running like a little media company, it's like yeah, you have sponsors and you're selling tickets, and it's like it actually is like that's why when people are talking about like freedom of speech and solutions and arguing about it, like conservatives, liberals always like, I really think the conversation is just like sort of stupid sometimes because to me, I don't think that any government's going to do anything that makes it better or worse. And I don't believe the Republicans like freedom of speech. I know that
they were the bad guys before. Now I think they're all the same.
I think they're the bad guys again now in a lot of places. I think I think for them it's like a
they're all the same.
It's like an aesthetic that they like freedom of speech right now,
right?
But they don't, like, you know what I mean. So really, to me, the only solution for real is like building new systems. Like what's made comedy better is like it decentralizing over the last 4 years.
Decentralization, yeah.
Like that's what
individuals.
That's what made comedy better. Like companies didn't help. Fucking government officials talking about how they shouldn't. None of that helps. The only thing that helps is like great people building like new systems.
I just thought of this like comedy is like the new gangster rap and shit in a weird way because you're like doing what you're not supposed to do and saying what you're not supposed to say.
Sure, yeah.
Fuck the police coming straight from the underground.
Yeah, sure.
You know, so I was listening to NWA at fucking like 12 or whenever it came out, and I'm still into that type of just, you know, kind of rebellious, kind of renegade shit, but pushing the lines. It
scratches like an edge.
Yeah, it's just that's what I'm into. And I hate like the thought police. Like, don't fucking worry about what I'm doing. Like, worry about yourself. It's getting.
But they will always. That's why it's like there will always be. Like, obviously, it can get worse and it can get better. And sure, I prefer a government that has like a general. You know, a general freedom agenda,
like Trudeau.
But it doesn't really work like that because it's like then it just goes back. The truth is, like, if you have a guy that like is like rubbing it in everyone's faces, all his like free speech policies, like I don't even like DeSantis or something. Like, well, if you live there, I'm sure it's good, but it's like the like countrywide pushback of that is just the opposite. So it's I don't know, and I do see it like going like that. The only
pro and con, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a temporary thing that seems to make people feel like better if you agree, but really it just caught. So I don't know. To me, the only thing that would solve, the only solution possible for like internet censorship would probably be like
more options.
No, like a like blockchain based like platform that took off and was like the one.
Yeah.
Where there was no, central governing body. Like I don't see any other option.
Right.
Like the government like getting involved and
telling us how to do it. Yeah, we would figure like anarchy.
I think that would be better for a second, and then once the next guy was in, it would be way worse. Like any Republican that's like, yo, let's have the government like get involved with the like speech because then they'll like make it even or whatever. It's like, yeah, until the next guy's in, and then it'll be like way worse. What are you talking, or the same at least.
I wanted an entrepreneur. I wanted a businessman. I don't want a fucking politician. And I mean, I didn't vote for Trump, but I was like into him because I wanted someone that would maybe like balance the budget and quit fucking overspending.
You want someone that has like fucking Silicon Valley kind of like Elon Musky politics.
Maybe more like Elon Musk, not so much.
Yeah,
like
I agree with like those. Because they're more, you know what they are? They're less like ideological and they're more like pragmatic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I also generally find myself like, if I was just like actually say what my politics are, I tend to like feel like I agree with kind of like Silicon Valley cowboy type guys.
Yes, a cowboy, not these people that are like slick talkers and fucking look all good and tell you what you want to hear and then do the exact opposite when they get into office, which that's a whole other thing because they all do that. It's up to this point, it seems like maybe not Kennedy, and then see what they did to him. LOL.
Sure,
We were talking about that on the show the other day. I
don't know. Yeah, that was like, I know that Elon Musk is like a shit talker, but it's like honestly like does kind of blow my mind. Like whenever you hear him talk and everyone like hates him so much, you're just like, I almost like don't even get it. You're just like, what's
your problem?
What's even like I don't even really get what the problem is.
Yeah, I mean, I know like Bridget Fedesi, I love her. You know who that is?
Yeah, I like Bridget. Yeah. She's the best.
But she doesn't like Elon Musk. But you can't.
Why doesn't she like him?
I don't understand why she doesn't like him.
Girls hate him.
Maybe because he's fucking all these bitches and getting them all.
Dude, my chick hates him too. Like I honestly like something about that guy rubs women the wrong way.
I don't know why. Maybe
I don't know. Like fucking and she can't even explain it. She just fucking like hates him.
Yeah, that's kind of.
And she like all her whole thing is like the environment and everything. And I'm like, that's kind of his whole deal. And it's like, well, not the right way. I don't know. It's like, I don't get why girls hate him so much.
I'm inspired more. I'm more, anyone, even the Kardashians or whatever. People hate on them, and I say think what you want, but they're fucking killing it. And if you're hating, just be. They're doing something. You could be inspired or you could hate on them, and I choose to look at what they've done.
That's such like the entrepreneur mindset versus like, and like winner mindset versus not. It's like, yeah, when you see someone doing something great, does that like pump you up or piss you off? That's such a divide, and like make sure you follow or like surround yourself with people that are this one, not that one.
Who do you surround yourself with that keeps you kind of like in the success moving forward?
To be completely honest, that was like one of the hardest things about moving to New York. It's because I've been in this game now. When I moved here at like 33ish, 34, 33, I'd been in this game since I was 18. So I had a studio in New York, or sorry, a studio in downtown Toronto. I had like employees.
Wow.
I had a building where we had 8 rooms, and we'd collected all the rooms as people had left their leases. So we had 2 floors of just filmmakers, my whole squad.
Wow.
Then I had all the comedians that I would see every night, and then I had like my family was there. My best friend, who was like, he's like a super smart dude, like really high up at Amazon, like dude, like just really like good guy, talk to about everything. And we would like always go to lunch like once a week, and like moving here, just like being like a guy and I don't know anyone anymore. To be honest, like that was one thing that I always had to try to fill that void of because I didn't really have any good like sounding boards because I moved to a new country and didn't know anyone. So now I have people a little better, but it's not. I feel like that's one of the biggest things that I'm always trying to optimize for, because I am like operating at a disadvantage to people that have been here for 15 years.
Yeah.
Like even little things, like I want to hire employees, and it's like, I know 2 guys that would be like perfect, and I'm like, yo, I could literally say to this guy, like, quit your job. I will, like work for me full time. Like, and but I don't know the right person in America. In Canada, I can already think of 4 people, but I'm not set up to like get people green cards. So it's like, it's just you spend your whole life like developing this network, and then I kind of just like left it all. So And that's one of the way I do think I'm operating at a disadvantage than when I see other people. But
I have like a group of other business owners in my town that we supposedly get together once a month and talk business, but it's been months since we've gotten together. But
does it help?
Yeah, it's like you can identify with each other. You might be having like economic challenges or triumphs, and we can talk about manifest. Like we do the woo-woo shit a little bit, like manifesting. And
So you believe in manifesting?
I saw the law of attraction. I saw The Secret, that movie that people talk.
Well, I
shit
believe
about.
it. I just feel like that's anything though. If you go, oh, I'm going to spend the next like 20 years of my life only thinking about this. Like I do. Yeah, I do.
I mean, yeah,
I don't think it's like has to be whimsical.
No, it doesn't. But it simplifies it, I guess, for the layman. And I'm not like a genius or whatever. And I was like, okay, if I focus on this one thing and think about it constantly, what you think about, you bring about. And that's what I've done with SHEATH.
Yeah.
And it seems to be working. So then I'm like this proselytizer about it because it worked for me. And I know like thousands of people, maybe it didn't work for them, but maybe they only did it for like 3 months and they were like, this isn't working or whatever.
Sure.
And so I meditate, I visualize, and I make vision boards. I don't necessarily do it as much as I used to, but I feel like that got me on the right path. And I'm obsessed. When I wanted to be in the NBA, I fucking played basketball all day, every day for 7 years straight. And I sucked. I was horrible. I never got good, but it helped. So it doesn't work all the time, but, and because there's limitations and, but I also developed a sick work ethic because I had to work my ass off just to make the B team.
Yeah, being like great at anything is the same like brain pathways. So,
obsession.
Like, yeah, that's why I think that as you get older, that's kind of what I'm saying right now. What I was saying earlier in the podcast is I do feel like one of my things, it's almost the opposite. It's I need to not be married to certain things and be a little more like water now that but I think that's not true for someone who's 20 years old. I think 20 years old, it's like, it almost doesn't matter what, maybe even like a little younger, but like it doesn't matter what you become great at. It just matters that you become great at something because you'll become great at everything else the same way. So it's like you're building like systems in your mind of how to like master things.
Yeah, it's transferable to whatever the next thing was. Yeah, so when basketball didn't work out, when the key thing didn't work out, it always moved. Like when I was in like corporate jobs, and then I joined the Army, and every job I had since I always like excelled because I don't know, I just fucking work hard. And what
are some of the skills you like transferred from before that you like, is there anything like with building SHEATH that you're like, this other lesson that I learned before like came in handy?
I mean, for like in my corporate jobs, I was doing like accounting shit and payroll stuff. So working with spreadsheets and organizing information. That was something when I was in the Army. I was, being a leader. I took like leadership courses, training, and I really excelled in just the physical fitness aspect of it because when you're amongst your peers, there's like I have a competitive drive, and I beat everyone in basic training in the physical fitness test amongst 260 people, and I'm not, like this.
You seem like you have like a tenaciousness in you, though.
It's heart. You know what I mean? It's just like I have a heart of a lion, and I don't want to lose. So, now that I'm with SHEATH though, we have other competitors. You may have heard of some other underwear companies that have like a pouch system, and I kind of like I don't look at them as I need to dominate them anymore. It's more like we can be in this space together and kind of grow to this new evolution.
They're almost helping.
Yes.
In some
create
way.
Awareness. Yes.
Yeah, because they're almost helping like
the legitimacy. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah. I'm sure you've thought about it more than I am right now, so you have the like words for it. But like, yeah, it's like it's like a band that's like a new genre.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that it's not just that one band gets famous. It's like the genre gets famous. And then if you're one of the early people in that band, that's what I think about this too. It's like, the same way you think about bands, you like, you don't go, you don't say like, you don't really say Sum 41. You're like, remember those pop punk bands? And that's one of them, right?
Yeah.
And everything is like a little scene like that, right? And also, you know, tech was that. It was, you know, all these little guys in these little pockets, right? So Skankfest would be that. It would be like, you know, this is a moment in comedy, right? And I get that people all the time where it's like, you know, people that would be like a big fan, but they're like, yeah, like, oh, I love like your shit and Kyle Dunnigan and Tim Dillon, like, or whatever, right? And it's like, yeah, I like that little fucking like group of guys, like they see it like that, because that's how people organize things in their brain, right?
Yeah, you're not scared that they're gonna bring you down because you're all kind of lifting each other up.
No, it was the complete opposite. Like if they started watching his stuff, they're like, oh, I like guys like this.
Yes.
Is there any more?
Right.
And then they were like, well, this other guy is like, it's a little different, but he's like in that world. And then they find you, like, it gets it's like they're bringing in a customer to the whole thing, you know?
I didn't mean to cut you off earlier. I was filling in your words. That can, whatever. But yeah, you get the point. And
for sure, yeah.
I mean, I do want to dominate them. I mean, I want to be the best. I don't want to dominate them. Like, I'm reading this book by Steve Jobs that Louis J. actually recommended to me. It's just his biography, and he wanted to, you know, be the computer domination. He wanted to dominate the computer space, and he did in a way, you know, like this thing right here was his like weird vision. He said he wanted to have a computer that you could hold in your hand, and that's it. It's such a fucking good book. I'll be reading it. I'll fucking just start crying because
he gets you hyped up.
Yeah, it's so fire, and my team is hating it right now because I'm kind of taking on some of the.
You're gonna be an asshole.
A little bit.
I don't like that.
Well, but I don't either. No, I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't like that part of him. I don't want to be that part. But the vision, the making a dent in the universe, that fucking obsession on creation, creating something that's gonna last forever. And we have this company where we can make a difference, and we like, people tell me that we change their lives, and I'm not fucking joking. It's weird. Like they start getting fit, they have more confidence, and that's not why we started it. You know, I was just trying to make people more comfortable, but now it's kind of taken on more of a life of its own, and I get to...
Yeah, because it has like a lifestyle component.
Yes. Yeah. And I didn't see that at the beginning, but and this oddly allows me to have a conversation with you. This is like surreal, you know.
Sick, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we've talked so many times.
I know, but it's wild that I'm in a position, and I don't necessarily think I would do that.
Yeah, it just seems like so like random, the connections that are like brought together from like the bare bones of what you actually did.
Yeah, I could just, and you know, the Yo Kratom guys, they're kind of just like staying in the dark, you know. They like stay out of it, but I'm like, I want to play.
Yeah, they kind of do. Yeah,
and they're cool. We're supposed
but they're
to
also like a little more on the margins of what the rules are and the
I know
creative. Like I get like if you're running a you know what I mean, they're a little on the margins. Like you're selling underwear, they're like, is this you know,
barely legal?
Yeah, kind of, right? Like
yeah, because it sucks because one of my friends sells Kratom, and he's been doing it for a while. He's in that CEO group I was talking about. He flies to Indonesia and back, and I've never had to buy Kratom because and I don't really take it, but I have in the past. It helps you come off of opioids. If you're on opioids and you're trying to get off, go to yokratom.com, use promo code whatever, and get that $60 kilo. But so there's some benefits to it, and then you can transition off of that. I found, what was my point? That my friend does it, and he would tell me like, oh, they just fucking passed this law, or they're putting together a bill, or it's gonna ban it in this state of Colorado. So
that's what I mean. Yeah,
it's a little. He's
a
always
little murkier. I think if you can only fight so many battles. If you're fighting like that battle, do you also want to be fighting like getting in trouble for your tweets battles, like
right, and putting yourself out there, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
and you just want to like stay low key.
I think that like, yeah, you can't be fighting on fucking 20 friends,
right?
With properly. How can you?
No, but you okay?
You ever see those people on the internet where you're just like, yo, this guy's in a fight with like 6 guys? Like, it's almost like a manic spiral at that point.
it was like the guys that were fighting blind. I don't know if you were watching. We were watching the guys in the ring yesterday. They had blindfolds on and dog collars on, and they were like spinning, trying to fight each other. And Lewis knocked one of them out. It was kind of funny. He wasn't blindfolded. I love.
So silly.
You know, the like UFC and fighting and the discipline and entrepreneurship, because it like fighting, you have to focus. You have to focus on that one thing. You can't be over here making movies and shit that much.
Yeah,
and still be great.
Of course,
being
not while you're in your fucking really while you're trying to be the best. That's what you just described is the thing that I struggle with like the most these days. Is like, because I have a business model that requires me to like be the best in the world at something.
Yeah, but you're killing it. But continue.
Thank you, but like. I'm also competing in the business space with people who don't have to do that part. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So they're just being comedians.
Just running a fucking internet business or like whatever, you know, just running a podcast business, like whatever it is that doesn't have to, you know, also make the, like, you know, compete at like the highest level of the world in something that's really hard.
I know.
At the same time. So it's like, that is something that I'm always
like
trying to like
split. You're splitting yourself in 4 different directions.
Yeah, and so it's like, how do you? What's the like answer to that? And you're trying to build teams to, you know, like to supplement you, but at the same time, like building teams takes just as much energy. So
yeah.
So that's my biggest like
challenge.
I don't want to say struggle because like, what is struggle? But there's always a struggle. So
yeah.
I think that I used to look at things when people are bad. The not right way to look at things is kind of be like, oh, this sucks so much. The real answer is like, yeah, that's the game. Like, this is hard. You know what I mean? Like, when people are like, oh, I can't get the sketches to go viral. You're like, yeah, that's the game. This is hard. You need to figure that part out. Like,
keep pumping.
There is no easy answer to this. Like, yes, so this is hard to build a system and also do this thing. But that's the thing that I think about the most is how to do it.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about like these rings right now, and of levels of whatever. You have like Rogan, at the top or whatever, and then like Andrew Schultz and stuff like that. Do you try to get on those shows, or
I've done Schultz's show.
You have done Schultz's show. I don't watch every podcast.
I probably would pass on Rogan, but
yeah, fuck Rogan.
No,
I'm just kidding.
I think this is like one thing that. It's like
I don't watch Schultz.
It is what it is. Yeah. Schultz is the man, dude. He's been very like helpful to me.
Good. Okay. Well,
it's like one thing that like when I have these like it is. Yeah, obviously I met Rogan recently. I went to do Tony Hinchcliffe's show and he introduced me or whatever. But like, dude, I just showed up to this country like 2 years ago, and like a lot of it is that these people have known each other for 10 years and I just don't know.
Yeah, and how do you? And like I'm sitting in the green room down there, and I'm like, I don't want to go like overstep and like try to be like force my way into it. It's kind of, you have to like let it kind of happen naturally. And
there's a natural way to do things, and you know it's always got to equal like how much are you asserting yourself into the mix versus how much you're actually growing and you're
doing your own thing.
Matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think that you try to be in tune with that the same way as an audience. Like you said, like, yeah, you're right. Like, don't be, your business that you're growing, no one cares, like your comedy's not that good, and you're always like around. Like there's a lot of comics that do that. You're like, they're always like around at the clubs, kind of like networking or whatever, but you're like, yeah, but you're not like really good at comedy, right? Like,
yeah.
And it's, you don't want to be a dick, but it's like, if you're kind of like not popular on the internet, or you don't have like a fan base, and you're like not like killing, where it's like your instinct should know you have no business like going and trying to introduce yourself to everyone. Like it's just, what are you doing? So it's like, it sounds like gross when you have to like say these things out loud, but it's almost like, yeah, of course. You know what I mean? Like if you're like some broke dude that girls don't like, don't just be like at a party, like trying to hit on every 10 out of 10. Like just have some fucking like awareness of where you're
trying
sit
to build
things.
Yourself up. I mean, keep building your profession, and then if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, you're going to do it on your own.
You'll be great and like try to build your thing, and then help other people, and like who is the person that will help you at the right time without it being weird,
Yeah.
Like a lot of times it's people want to help other people, but like how does it look for them? Like would it be cool for them to be like, oh, there's this fucking new guy Ron Long, you should check him out, And it's like, did you make it cool? So it's actually kind of cool for them to show your shit because, like I feel like that with guys like Kurt and Kyle, like we're probably in the same, like, doing views or whatever. But like, like you want to tell someone about him because it's cool.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then if they're like, become a big fan, it was like, oh, that was cool. Ryan Long, like put me on to them so you want to make yourself have like value to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not just be like, help this dude, and even though he sucks.
Here's a perfect example. Like, I've had this both ways, but like I've had people that have been helpful to me, and then for the next 2 years, you tell everyone like, oh no, people will be like, let's say he's more popular, right? And then the more popular you get, the more people might be like, oh, that guy's not that good. Then you have like an army of people like me being like, no, I'm telling you that guy's like the man. I mean, that's Rogan, the king of that. How much hate does he get? And he has an army of people, but there's like, no, I'm telling you, you're wrong. He's the fucking man.
Yeah.
Because he helps so many people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like
so
that.
I try to have, I
try to help people.
Dude, I think you go to Toronto, I think you would not find one person that isn't like, nah, Ryan's the fucking dude. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, good. Yeah, me too.
Dude, I had series. I put every one of my series. I gave people money. Everything, right? So
yeah, you want to help people. It's like karma in a weird way. Also, not that you're trying to like.
It's like it's karma. It's like a good way to be, and it's like a fucking system that you could do that like makes sense forever.
Yeah, it's a principle, I think, of even just success.
It's like a crazy thing not to do.
It would be insane
to like run your life any other way,
especially if they're good. And the only reason you wouldn't do that is because you're scared that they're gonna surpass you and they take, take what you got, take your shine, and you don't want to be living in fear. You want to fucking live in abundance. This is another principle.
Starvation. Yeah, you do not want to have this fucking like starvation mindset.
No,
I have that with like, I know a lot of people that I'm always like. I'm more aggressive with it. I go, stop like thinking like a fucking poor person. Like I kind of, you know, I've had a lot of people in my life like that where
there's a
like,
mindset.
Even just the way that they think of like money or whatever, you'll see the way people think of like, okay, I have this account and I need to put this money in this account and this money in this account. And it was like, yo, this is fucking like poor people shit. Like, yo, and it's not about like being rich is better or being poor. Like, it's more just like, yo, you're thinking like someone that isn't like winning, and you need to fucking understand, like have the mindset of a winner. Like, don't waste energy on $13. I know, like, it's easy to say, but it's like, yeah, but it is like when I was fucking broke, like
work harder.
It's how you get out of that. You don't get out of that fucking trap by being more of it.
Yes, yeah, and I used to be in that mind state too. I think when I was younger, and now I've read these books that kind of.
You wouldn't be spending money on fucking sketches if you had a poverty mindset, because you'd be like, that's crazy. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It was cool to see you, and I don't know how we're doing on time, but like with JP Sears.
120 now.
Okay. Well, damn. We're okay. Oh shit. We'll wrap it up here in like 5.
Yeah.
Like JP Sears, Shane Gillis.
You know what? Fucking when I went to his house, they were like fucking. I think it's like I live in New York, and you just spent like, I have a studio that's tiny little studio. It's $3,000 a month. And then my house is like, I remember going to his house, and it was like, you look up these houses in Austin, it was like $600,000 mansion, and I was just like, what are we doing in New York?
Yeah, no, it's insane. The cost of living is ridiculous. I lived in California, and I had to leave because I was like, I'm never going to be able to buy a house there, but.
JP's is crushing it.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously crushing it because he wanted to, you guys collaborated.
He's
together.
been another guy. It's like, reached out early, being like, yo, your shit's super funny.
Like,
blah,
that's
blah.
why I reached out to you too.
I
hope I would never want to be offensive, but because you're doing your thing, and it's cool to see you working with these other people that I'm also a fan of, and like,
of course, yeah.
And you're gonna build each other up in the long run, and it's a beautiful thing. I love watching what you do. I love all your videos on YouTube. Check them out, Ryan Long on YouTube. Check it, Ryan Long Comedy.
When the fans hear that like Sheath, buy the underwear, Boys Cast, the code you want to go with.
Yeah, Boys Cast, exactly.
Oh no, sorry, Ryan Long.
We got a couple of codes for you.
We got a couple of codes.
Boys Cast, Shout out to Danny, your boy. He's always helping you out with the sketches. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here.
Yeah, you're the man, dude. It's a fun chance to get to hang and fucking chat outside of the whole chaos.
I know you've been just talking to everybody. I don't know. You must.
Yeah, I'm losing my voice.
I'm like, he's not you, but like everyone's got to be on like some Adderall or some shit just to keep hanging. But you got the natural high energy. Again, thank you.
Yeah, I have you know what I do? I do get excited by like good humor and like good hangs and stuff like that. So I will be getting tired then, and like Colin will fucking run in like fucking, and I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
You get hyped up by energy.
Yeah, when I first got here, somebody was like, "Are you General Robert Patton?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, this is pretty cool. I like it." So we're having a good time. We're gonna finish it up. Today's the last day at Skankfest.
I'm going to Charlotte,
and then you're gonna be in Charlotte next.
Yeah, no, I'm going straight from here to tour
tonight or tomorrow
morning, which sucks, but I went straight here from tour. I would like.
When do you get a chance to like recoup?
Right now, this month is bad. This month is like poorly managed.
Do you meditate or anything, or you just sleep really good?
I don't meditate, but I do run every day.
How long do you run?
And I do have like some, systems that I try to use to like organize my brain, but I find like meditating.
It's difficult.
I think that like, how you kind of, even with stand up, there's certain jokes where I'm like, I know how I look to the audience. It's like, that's not me. It's like, dude, I'm like, I don't think I operate like that. Like I almost like
constantly
to the point where like I almost don't believe it. Like, but I know people swear by it. But so I think maybe it's just not for me. But it's like
maybe later in life. I just started a year ago, and it definitely helps kind of just like calm everything down, and it gives you more energy in a weird way.
I wish I could make this work for me.
Transcendental meditation. When the time comes, you'll know.
I've heard from everyone what you're saying, but for me, it's like I just sit there and I go, "What are we doing here?"
I got shit to do, and we got shit to do. So we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you, everyone. Again, this is the Robert Patton Global Podcast with Ryan Long. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.